When the world was at war, ordinary people were forced to become extraordinary. Factories couldn't produce enough weapons for every soldier, and occupied nations often had to rely on ingenuity just to survive. Today, survivalists can learn a lot from those desperate times. World War II homemade weapons weren't just tools of war, they were lifelines. If you're serious about prepping and self-reliance, understanding the resourcefulness of those who came before us can give you both practical knowledge and inspiration for modern survival scenarios. Let's dive straight into the gritty reality of how survival was maintained through ingenuity, using whatever materials were at hand. People had to improvise weapons from everyday materials because nothing else was available. In occupied territories, resistance fighters had to get creative. Metal pipes, scrap steel, old bicycle parts, and even kitchen utensils became deadly tools when necessity demanded it. For example, pipe guns were often cobbled together from plumbing materials, creating a simple firearm that could fire a single shot. These weapons were crude but effective when properly handled. A survivalist today can study these designs to understand how to convert available materials into functional defense tools while always prioritizing safety and legality in practice. The principle is to take what's available and transform it intelligently. A mindset that can be applied to both defense and survival tools today. Explosives were made from common chemicals when conventional ammo ran out. Another tactic involved homemade explosives. Resistance fighters often had to substitute military-grade explosives with combinations of chemicals found in households, farms, or small workshops. While discussing specifics in detail isn't safe or legal, understanding the ratios and precision required teaches a vital lesson. Experimentation without discipline is fatal. Historical records indicate that people carefully calculated mixtures using stable compounds to avoid premature detonation. So, the takeaway for modern survivalists is, the importance of chemistry knowledge and controlled experimentation for safe application in survival settings. Whether that's for creating smoke signals, fireworks, or, controlled demolition in emergency scenarios. Traps and improvised defense mechanisms were just as critical as firearms. Not all weapons needed to be handheld or explosive, you see. Wire traps, tripwires, and makeshift barricades were standard tools for resistance fighters. These didn't require complex materials, just a bit of knowledge of mechanics, tension and camouflage. For instance, a simple snare could immobilize an intruder long enough to escape or perhaps gain the upper hand, and they were often made from wire and cordage. In a survivalist context, this translates directly to home or camp defense strategies. You can create layered security by combining awareness, barriers and mechanical traps to protect resources and ensure safety without, drawing attention. Repurposing old weapons extended survival capabilities dramatically. World War II survivors were masters at repurposing. Broken rifles became pistols, empty cans became grenades, and even broom handles were transformed into spears or blunt force weapons. The logic was simple. If it can hold, channel, or direct force, it can serve as a weapon. For survivalists today, this teaches a mindset rather than a method. Evaluate every object in your environment for its potential to aid survival, whether that's defense, hunting, or signaling. For example, a damaged camping shovel can become a digging tool, a defensive weapon, or even a makeshift hammer. Versatility is key. You know, one of the most fascinating lessons from World War II homemade weapons is that creativity often trumped brute force. Resistance fighters, well, they relied on stealth, misdirection, and psychological impact to intimidate or manipulate larger forces. Sometimes a noisy trap or a well-placed dummy weapon could delay enemy troops just long enough for a strategic withdrawal or a bit of sabotage. Survivalists today can really apply this principle by focusing on situational awareness, camouflage, and, a bit of unpredictability. In a real-world scenario, knowing when to engage, when to conceal, and how to use your environment wisely can actually prevent conflict before it starts. An invaluable lesson that saves lives far more effectively than superior firepower alone. Consider the British Home Guard during the Blitz. They often faced shortages of conventional arms and, relied on improvised mortars, Molotov cocktails, and makeshift spike traps around key supply points. Modern survivalists can learn from this by practicing safe replication with simulations. For instance, understanding how weight distribution affects a trap, or how a container can direct a non-lethal projectile, helps you translate historical ingenuity into practical drills. Safety, of course, must always be your first priority, but the lessons of improvisation, resourcefulness, and adaptability are timeless. In essence, studying World War II homemade weapons isn't about glorifying violence. It's about developing a mindset of resilience. These designs were born from necessity, scarcity, and survival instinct, the very traits that define a capable survivalist today. From makeshift firearms to wire traps, every improvised weapon tells a story of human ingenuity under extreme pressure. By understanding these stories and principles, you gain actionable insights into resourcefulness, adaptability, and situational awareness. So, whether you're an experienced survivalist or just starting to prepare for unpredictable scenarios, take a page from history. Learn how materials can be repurposed, how simplicity can outperform complexity, and how thinking creatively can turn scarcity into survival. If you found this guide valuable and want more hard-hitting survival insights, make sure to hit that subscribe button, share this video with fellow survivalists, and stay tuned for our next deep dive into history's most ingenious survival strategies. The final siren.